Max, it's really great to have you here on our interview series Working in Web3, where we would like to talk with you about your experience working as a blockchain engineer and your information on that and what you think of it.
It's great to be here. Thank you for interviewing me. I love working in blockchain. It's been a lot of fun, and I've been involved with blockchain since 2012. To be able to finally work in it is just a big honor. So
cool. This would also be my first question. How did you get in first into Web3, and then how did you get into blockchain engineering?
When I was a teenager, when I was like 16, Bitcoin was kind of hyped in like 2013, 2012. And I was like, let's just get some, because it was cheap back then. And truly remember maybe like $100 or $200. I used my pocket change and little money I had to buy some. And then I kept it for a while and kept going up. You sold a bit, yada, yada, yada. And it was just fun, a fun journey, you know, because you see over years, the graph goes up, goes down, goes up, goes down. And I've always been very fascinated and involved with it. I also studied computer science then and was able to program, and I worked in programming for a long time, but I actually haven't thought that I could work in blockchain. I thought it's going to be way too complicated. But I have a good friend who made the step to blockchain, and he told me that it's not too hard to work in it if you work in Web2, which I thought it's crazy. I thought it's going to be really, really difficult. After working for 4 years in full stack in 2022, I made the decision to go into blockchain after I attended some Solana events, and they were really fun and the community seemed really nice. So I thought, yeah, maybe I can do this. I spent about actually, it was 2021, summer 2021. I went to a big Solana event, and then I started studying blockchain, how it works. And I was working through the book called Mastering Bitcoin. You can find it on GitHub. It's free, or you can buy the book. And it's very good. It's like somewhat technical. It kind of teaches you how Bitcoin works. I think Bitcoin is a very good starting point because it was the first blockchain. It's also quite complex to work with it. If you can work with Bitcoin, in my opinion, you can work with other things too. I went through that book and I went through it again. So 2 times I read it. And they also have some coding examples. So I went through the coding examples. And then what I also did is build my own Bitcoin client from scratch. So just a client to interact with it. And that really like teaches you how this works if you're a coder. Because now I'm kind of addressing people who already know how to program. If you build your own Bitcoin client from scratch in any language you like, you can use Python, Java, C#. I use Rust, which is just a language you like. And then you really will learn how the transactions are built, how you can really send a Bitcoin transaction, because it's quite complicated. You understand the whole UTXO stack, and you just understand how the whole thing actually works. And I didn't understand it before. I thought maybe this, maybe this. Read the book, you kind of get some understanding, but no, not really. In my opinion, as an engineer, you have to really build it. And it's reinventing the wheel, but it teaches you a lot. Then after that, I also made a project to build my own blockchain, but just really like a testing blockchain. But that also kind of teaches you how blockchains work. And that's actually how I then ended up at my current job at crypto.com. I actually had this blockchain I built, and I could use it in the technical part of the interview to explain how it works. And I think that helped me a lot in getting this job. And yeah, also to get this job took me a total of 1 year next to my work. I started working at crypto.com in summer 2022. Or actually, I started in 2023. So I was 1 year off. So I'm working there for 2 years now, summer 2023. But it took me, like, I had in this 1 year from summer 2022 till summer 2023, I had about 50 interviews with different companies, because I really started from the start. I started, okay, let's interview there, interview there, interview there. I had some headhunters, but the headhunters, they try to sell you on senior positions, because I already had 4 till 6 years experience before. Of course, they tried to sell me to senior positions, but I think it doesn't make sense to go into a senior position if you are new in blockchain. The headhunters didn't help. No offense to the headhunters, but it just. So what I did is I just applied to companies directly, and I failed a lot of interviews because I just didn't know enough yet. And I had some very good interviews where they actually told me what to study. This book recommendation I actually got from an interviewer, thanks to him. And just 1 year, work through it, learn it. For some people, it will be quicker to learn it. For some people, maybe slower. I don't know, but don't get sad if you fail a couple of interviews. It's a learning experience. But yeah, I'm working now for 2 years at crypto.com. Fantastic company, fantastic international team. We have people from all over the world. I work remotely, and it's always something new. We work with a lot of different chains. They're very different. We also communicate with them through their community channels, and it's it's just a very diverse and interesting job. It's very fun. So
Cool. And also good advice. Also, when you look back now, what would you say were your key challenges in working as a blockchain engineer?
key challenge, since at crypto.com we support a lot of chains, it's for smaller ones, they're very complicated. There's very little documentation. And so you just got to kind of look, if they're open source, you got to look at the source code and you got to really go for like a big project, look through it, and then try to contact the developers somehow. You try to get into their Discord or whatever they have, and you have to be a bit patient and order like that. That's very hard supporting the smaller projects, but it's also very fun because they can be very interesting. What's also hard is the building the transactions can be very complicated, and then a usual part of the job is the struggle to finally build a successful transaction. What's really nice is that you use tools where you can actually combine the bytes a lot, so you have to, it's a big part of the job. So that's kind of hard. And I would say not to get frustrated if you work on one transaction for a couple of weeks or something, because some of those chains are just crazy, and the chains have updates. So after some time, you'll have to really keep in mind what the updates of, I will not name chains, but like some chains, they have updates and you have to keep them tracked, and you have to make sure that the update doesn't break anything in your implementation. But that's about it.
It does sound like a lot. And when you work with people, I know you work remotely, you have said it, but when you work with people, what traits do you value most in working with them?
I would say the main trait I would value is approachability. With that, I mean that it's easy to talk to people. So I feel in my team, it's easy to talk to everyone. If I have a question, if I don't know something about our system, because maybe I'm working on a new part of it, I can ask, and I don't have to feel any bit of nervous to ask. I can just be, hey, how does this work? And then like this and this, and everyone's kind of happy to explain. And I didn't have one experience where people were unwilling to help. Approachability, or like the willingness to help, I think it's very important.
That makes sense. And also from your experience as a blockchain engineer, what would you say are the challenges, the key challenges in general in working in Web3?
I already mentioned some of them, I think. But the main key challenge, if I want to use a big term, it's security. Of course, also at our job, security is the main thing. We always have that in mind, that we make sure our system is secure. But also you have to do a lot of testing. That's in any job, but especially here, you have to get all the edge cases tested, and you have to make sure that, for instance, a lot of blockchains have different address types. Bitcoin has some. They have a lot of different like ways to interact with it, and you have to make sure you support all the ways and you test all the ways, because in blockchain, if you make small mistakes, a lot of money can be on the line. You really have to test it, and when you work with people, you have to make sure that when you make changes, that many people review it of your team, so none of the security loopholes can go through. And I think we're doing that quite well at my company, but that's the main thing, like security, testing, and
makes sense. And now we are coming to the fun questions part, my favorite part. If you would had to describe your job using only one emoji, which one would you pick?
Let's think. Only one emoji. I need to think of the list. I will just my job. Let me actually just look up some emojis. Emoji list. And I think that actually, yeah, I would just say there's this nerdy emoji that's smiling with the teeth. No, because I would say we're quite nerdy what we do. We like it, but we also smile. So we enjoy it a lot. And we are helpful and approachable, like I mentioned before. So I would say the glasses and teeth.
That's a good fit. And for the last question, which advice would you give newcomers, especially maybe new blockchain, when they're starting working in Web3?
Since I already talked about my journey, I would say if you know programming, like I mentioned before, you can go that way, and don't be afraid. It's not that hard. You can get started also just working on Ethereum contracts, or I started on Solana contracts just because I like Rust, but actually participating maybe also in a hackathon can be very fun. And then you try to build your own contract, and if you just start out, it will be difficult, but it's like you can do it. Like it's it takes some time, and don't be afraid to fail and just get started. And if you want to really know it in depth, like I said, read the Mastering Bitcoin book. You can find it on GitHub, or the Mastering Ethereum. You can also read that. And just, if you know coding, get into it. It's easy. If you don't know coding, learn coding first. Maybe Python, maybe C#, maybe something you enjoy. I learned coding at age 19. I'm 30 now. I learned it by actually just building games in Unity engine, because I used to be a huge gamer and I was like, I've got to make games. And that was really fun. And then you can really learn coding. If you know coding, just get into blockchain. You will understand how it works after a little bit of work. And then if you don't, just learn coding first.
Good advice. Thanks for all of the advice. It was really very insightful, and we're very happy to have you back here.
Thank you. It was fun to talk about all this stuff, and I hope I can help someone.